iShare is the latest startup in the real estate syndication space.
Our mission is to create transparency, provide liquidity, and offer market intelligence that can help you succeed at a higher level.
To get involved, join our iShare sponsored Facebook group.
Together, we can raise the standard.
Hello and happy Thursday. Welcome back to another episode, if you will, of the Fundication Show live with myself, Caloni Michelle, and my co-host, Christian Sadler. Hi, Christian. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. You're about 3,000 miles away right now.
That must be the lag that I'm feeling here.
I think there might be a little lag too. I'm not sure if there's a lag on the end user. So I don't know about you, Christian, but I was smiling as I was watching that intro video and how far we've come since we started filming some of those clips. And not only that, to see where we were filming before the studio was completed to now when we're filming like in person at the studio to see, that on there. And so it's been a fun journey co-hosting with you.
It has been. You remember we used to just be jumping around all over the place. It would take, a couple hours to set up, and now we can just walk in the studio, and it still takes a couple hours, but Nick does that on the back end.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick, for all your hard work. He manages the studio, films all the videos, edits all the videos. He's a content master studio ninja. Well, Christian, let's dive in. So we're talking a lot right now as a company and with investors and sponsors and other industry leaders that we're talking to about like where the market is headed right now. And so I thought today on this live, on this that we're broadcasting on multiple platforms, that we talk about kind of where the market is headed. I also want us to pull up a hypothetical situation that our real estate team put together of what a typical investment could look like if an investor needs out of a syndicated or fractional real estate investment. They need out of it early. And so I know we have a spreadsheet put together for that. And we'll pull that up too, so you can give a high level overview of that. And then we'll also talk about our listing hub, which will give fractional or syndicated real estate investors an ability to liquidate their fractional shares if they need to liquidate it for whatever reason, or maybe they need the money for medical bills, or just because they're a little anxious of where the market's headed, or maybe they want to go out and buy a Ferrari. So I thought we'd kind of dive into those areas today. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of shifts going on in the market right now. And if you understand where the market is heading, and in fact, already there in a lot of cases, there's going to be many scenarios where the way the original deal was put together isn't going to be the way that it finishes. And so those shifts are potentially causing people who thought they were going to have money in for maybe 4 to 5 years, having their money in for 7 to 10 years, potentially. And so those are many of the people who may want to get liquidity. There's also a lot of other factors that come into play.
Yeah. So what, I know we did a video recently and posted it on all of our platforms, primarily YouTube, that we'll give the audience right now a link to watch at any time. And so we'll put that link in the chat. But let's talk about what are some of the market factors that are going on right now?
Yeah. If you just think about it from this standpoint, kind of getting to where we are. So what we had was, if you go all the way back to 2008, when things crashed, and the years following, there was over a decade where we essentially were not building any new inventory as far as housing is concerned, because there was such a shift in the ability to access ownership for people because of what happened with the banks and everything else. And so it wasn't that there wasn't demand for the supply. It's just simply that demand wasn't able to take advantage of the supply. And so then we ended up in an undersupplied overall market. And with that, because the feds were trying to help us recover as an economy, they were essentially giving very low rates, artificially low rates for a long time. And so money became easier to get. And that sparked a big movement of people trying to fill the need that they could see the supply and demand issue. We need to get back into the point where we have enough units to fill the actual supply and the actual demand that there is for it. And I believe we're still in that spot where we need a tremendous amount of more units. But then what happened was, as we were going into this inflation state, the Fed again decided, hey, we need to change things. And all of a sudden they started ramping up interest rates, and they did it very, very quickly. So now all of a sudden this easy access to money became difficult access to money. And even if you can get access to it, it costs so much more than you probably originally projected. And so you have a lot of people that went into a transaction, and they may have went into it as a, develop, build, and sell situation. And now they're realizing they have to go into it and develop, build, and hold the properties. And so many people were doing that already, but there's just a lot of shifts and things going on. And it'll be interesting to see what the market bears. But what I will say is we're already hearing it in the marketplace, where there's many syndicators out there that underwrote their deals at 3% interest on their refinance, and they're not getting anywhere near than that. In fact, they're probably double that now, as they're looking to get their refinance done now that they've repositioned their properties. And so many of those people are having to do cash calls to their investors. If they're not doing cash calls, they're definitely delaying payments in a lot of scenarios. And so you have all of this situation where it's causing, I guess, the perfect storm, so to speak, for people to want to redeploy their cash in a different way. But up until now, there hasn't really been an easy way for them to do that. And the reason people may want their money out, I mean, we can go into that a little bit, Caloni, is, God forbid there's a major medical situation or something that they have to deal with that way. There may just be that they, like you said earlier, they want the new Ferrari, or, maybe they're seeing an opportunity where they can get this brand new house that got built, and now there's, 15 of them. And so they've discounted the price and they want to buy in that neighborhood. There's all kinds of different scenarios that could come up. In fact, as we were talking with Mike about this the other day, when we were putting that video together, we talked about it's just the time value of money in many scenarios, because a lot of these people, they got in a couple of years ago and the property has been significantly improved. The value has gone up significantly. However, now they're not going to see the cash flow that they thought they were going to get, and they may not see that gain for another 4, 6, maybe even 10 years down the road, depending on, their sponsor and the overall deal itself. And so with that, many of those people may just be looking at it and saying, I want to take my gain now and I want to redeploy it in a different way. And so beautiful part is with pre-iShare, we want to buy those fractional interests, and we don't care why you want to get out.
Exactly. And we have a financial solution we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But Christion, I know that the real estate team worked hard on putting together a hypothetical situation. So our real estate have over 40 years of syndication experience. And so they're very well versed in real estate syndications. I mean, collected 100 years of real estate investing experience. And so they put together a great, there we go, a great spreadsheet here. And Christion, you did a video. And again, we'll put that in the chat here in a few minutes. So if you want a deeper dive where Christion explains this spreadsheet right here a little bit more, then click the link that our team is going to put in the chat right now. But Christion, I'm going to turn it over to you, where you can talk about, an investor that purchased a fractional share, and then 2 years later they wanted out of it for whatever reason. Maybe they're again nervous about the market downturn. They have medical bills. Maybe they need to send a child to college or whatever. I'm going to let you take over now and explain your amazing graphic right here.
Yeah, and again, the video is probably going to do a better job at this. I don't want to spend too much time on our live here, but the simple explanation here is somebody bought in, this year, January of this year, at $250,000 in this example, and a couple of years later, they believe it's worth $450,000 because they're looking at the value based on the trailing 12 months of income and what's going on in the market. And so they obviously would love to get the $450,000, but they're probably in a scenario where they can't access that money for a very long time. And so what we'll do is we'll look at it. We'll look at the preferred rate of return they're getting, what the actual property is performing. We'll do a non-risk-based return, and then we're going to look at it with a risk-rated return required, meaning what type of asset it is, what we believe the market's doing, how it fits into the overall fund. And with this scenario, we offered them $333,000 for their interest. And, that added up to almost a 24% return to the investors themselves. So this may be a doctor or a dentist or somebody that they're not necessarily going out there and transacting the deal. They're putting money into somebody else's deal. And in that scenario, they're wanting to get their cash out at this point. And so we get them the cash, we slot into the same spot that they would be inside of that transaction. And then the other thing, as I was going through the video that I thought of, is this the simple fact that they may be getting out because they're getting a cash call, right? And their investor or their syndicator, their sponsor, however you want to say it, is looking at doing a cash call because they need to continue that deal forward, and they need to get everything in line. We're okay if it's a distressed scenario, as long as the overall deal is good and there's a plan for it. In fact, that sponsor could potentially get approved with pre-iShare and get access to our other financial services, such as our pref equity, which may put them into a position where they no longer have to ask for a cash call for the remaining investors. So there's a lot of benefit here. From the beginning, Caloni, I know that our mission has been to align the interest of the passive investor and the sponsors. And so I believe that this is one scenario that really, exemplifies that, because we can get the investor out, we can help the sponsor along the way. And now that we're invested in this deal, we have everything behind us wanting to see that sponsor succeed long-term with this deal and future transactions.
No, well, thanks for that, Christian. And to, just to piggyback off of what you're saying and to dive a little bit more into our listing hub. So we're currently in the development stages of the listing hub. We'll be launching the beta here soon, and I'll give some more information on that in just a second. But essentially with our listing hub, investors will be able to list their frac shares and syndicated real estate investments. And so they can submit that listing either to us, our underwriter will underwrite it. We may purchase it and our liquidity fund that we've launched, or it can go on the open market to where other investors may be able to purchase it too. And so it really gives an opportunity to either sell it to us or sell it to somebody else who and this gives them a lot more options than what they currently have, because oftentimes they have to go back to the sponsor and see if the sponsor will purchase it from them, which more times out of than not, that's not really an option. So I have a couple, it's still in the development stages, so I can't really share too much right now. And our chief technology officer, she's kind of taking the reins on this and making sure that we move forward with the listing hub. But I'll show a couple of things right here real quick. So I have a screenshot, and this may not, again, be what the final product looks like, but let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so we're going to do listing hub. Okay, so actually, one second. Let me see if I can get.
And while you're working on that, so I'm just going to mention the fact that this really shows pre-iShare's commitment to making a free and open marketplace when it comes to these transactions, because the simple route, the back end route, the route that many people would have gone that would be more direct, is we simply create the fund, we create the relationships with the sponsors, and we buy these fractional shares for ourselves, and we just discount, and we make that the only thing that happens. But really, our mission is to change the industry as a whole, because the real estate industry has so many benefits. It's so widely known that it is probably the safest, in my opinion, the most forgiving asset class there is out there, as long as you can stay in the deal and hold on to those properties long enough. And that's the issue. Is the downside to the great returns and the great protection is the lack of liquidity. And so the listing hub is really our answer to that, to where, hey, we're showing you that, yes, we are willing to buy these, and we are going to be aggressive in our offer, on our offers to you if you're selling your shares. And on the other side of that, we're also creating a space where other investors can come in, and it's an open marketplace, and you could sell it for as much as you think it's worth. So if you, in that scenario, if you thought, hey, I can just get $450,000 for it right now, then, go out there and do that by all means. We know, though, of course, that the next investor is going to be thinking the same thing. If I'm going to be illiquid, then I'm going to want to get some sort of a discount. And that's really what we're doing. And I feel like we're so fair with our offers. There's a lot of people that will go with us for the quick scenario, but you always have those people that they want to get the best of the best. They're willing to put themselves out in the open marketplace, and we want to create that.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for that information, Christian. Can you see my screen right here of the Listing Hub?
Not yet.
Okay. It says I'm sharing my screen.
There you are. Yep, there you are. There's
okay,
just a
so you can see it. Okay, perfect. Okay, because I couldn't see it on here on the platform that we're using. So again, fictitious number, fictitious names, fictitious images are, those were taken online. However, all this is fictitious, but essentially our Listing Hub is going to look something similar to this. The final product may not be this. Here we'll have a bunch of different listings, and an investor that's shopping around can go to the Listing Hub and say click view listing. They can pull a lot more from the listing, financial documents, PPM, who the sponsor is, and all of that. And then they can even communicate with sponsors and other investors. Now, again, we are not acting as a broker dealer. We are acting as a listing portal. So we're simply like having these listings online, and then it's between the buyer and the seller for them to communicate, for them to make sure that the other party is an accredited investor, and all of those. That is not something that we are taking on. That's something that the buyer and seller get to take on. But we simply have a Listing Hub where we are allowing investors to come on and list their fractional shares. And again, we have buyers that will be coming on here to look to see what deals may be available that they may want to invest in. So that's visual that I wanted to provide. I love visuals. It helps me get a better idea of the vision of something. And so I thought I'd share that. And I'm going to share something else too real quick.
Yeah. And I think that's so helpful for people to understand this. We're really just creating the marketplace. We are not facilitating any transactions. We are not, going through the process of proving, the accredited status of any of those investors, unless it's us, of course, as a fund buying shares for pre-iShare.
Yeah. Okay. So how about now, Christian? Or I think you might have to click a button for my screen to show again. So again, this is just super high level of the hub process, and we're still fine-tuning it now. We're still working on all the workflows. So essentially what will happen is submit the documentation to pre-iShare, and if we're going to purchase it, this is what we'll underwrite it, we'll make an offer if it makes sense to us, and then from there there's the sale. And that's, it's a pretty seamless, easy process in terms of like very high level. And then in terms of like getting started, if you're interested in, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen right here real quick, Christian, stop sharing. And actually, there we go. And I'm back on. Okay. So in terms of, if you're interested in being a beta tester on our Listing Hub, email us at info@share.com. So Nick or Brennan, whoever's on the back end right now, or I think both of you are, if one of you can put the email in there. Email info@preishare.com, direct line of Listing Hub to get more information on becoming a beta tester, or even to get on our email list of updates on our Listing Hub. I know we're sending out quite a few different emails right now with updates on all the different facets of what pre-iShare is up to. But if you specifically information on the Listing Hub, again, email us at info@preishare.com, subject line Listing Hub. And if you want to be a beta tester, you have fractional share, you want to see what this looks like, email to subject line Listing Hub to info@preishare.com, and we can get you more information. And as the Listing Hub starts to become available in the beta version, and then again once we launch it to the public. So Christian, did you want to add anything there? Anything else for the Listing Hub?
No, I'd just say, yeah, we have a huge opportunity right now where I think we're allowing 10 people. If you have fractional shares, you're thinking about selling it, you can be one of the first listings on the Listing Hub. And there's the potential, because we are also right in the middle of launching our fund. Mm-hmm. We could potentially make you an offer on those shares. And so if you're in a position where you're saying, hey, I love what you guys are doing, and in fact, I'm the guy or gal that needs to liquidate my fractional shares, we're still, in process of creating some of this stuff, but you could be in that beta phase. And so just send us an email and we'd love to connect with you. You're going to connect with a couple of people on our team. In there, if you do have that fractional share and you want to mention what asset class or, some of the details of the transaction, that could expedite the process. But by all means, if you just want to send a quick email that says, beta test, we'll get an idea and we'll start asking you some questions from there.
Yeah. And Christian, you mentioned the 10 that want to list or that are interested in it. Just to elaborate on that, so we will be charging for each listing that's on the listing hub. It'll be a minimal fee. We will be waiving that fee for the first 10 investors that want to go through our beta period and as kinks of all of this. And so if you're interested in listing as a beta tester, go ahead and email us at info@preishare.com.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would say is I would love to know if you've stayed with us this long. First of all, thank you. You are our core audience. We love all of your support. Let us know if you are live or if you're watching this as a recording.
And I want to know a little more information on that. And where are you tuning in from? And are you an investor, a sponsor? Are you do you want to become a real estate syndication investor? Give us a little bit more information about you. And we love learning about our audience and all. And if you want to see some more videos that Christian and I are doing in our studio, you can. And we just launched a video today on YouTube, just a little intro video of our, now that the studio itself is complete. Go to youtube.com/@preiShare, or just go to simply go to YouTube and iShare search for us, and you'll find all of our videos there, and you'll see some of the recent Syndication Show episodes that we have filmed and that have been released on YouTube. So Christian, thanks for anything else you wanted to say.
Well, I just want to give context here. There's so much of our audience that I know are watching our videos, and we end up talking to them as we're out there in the marketplace, as we're going to events, and we hear they've been watching everything, and it's really great. We just want to connect more with you who are our audience, so that we can make sure that we are bringing you what you want to see, that we're helping you really understand what pre-iShare is, what we're doing for the marketplace, and also some of the best insights into how we can better help both syndicators and passive investors is coming from our audience, is coming from the people who are out there in the marketplace who need what we have.
Mm-hmm. And we have Anthony watching live on LinkedIn. Hello, Anthony. Saw your message come through. So thanks again for tuning in. We strive to go live here on social media through pre-iShare and mine and Christian's channels every week. And so each week we'll be giving updates, whether it's on our studio, the Syndication Show, our fund, our approved sponsor group, our approved sponsor rating system, the listing hub. I mean, we have so many different areas of the business right now that we're working on. And so we come on live. We try to each week to give an update on one area of the business. So thanks for tuning in. And Christian, thanks for joining me today.
See you, everybody.
Have a good day.